Hey everybody, what's happening? You found another episode of the Friday Fix here on the Flicksation podcast. Today we're gathered together to talk about the films and music of the year 1987. You know that means Alan the Listman Robinson is in the house. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I'm really glad to be here, especially after the week that it's been.
Jason joining us from northern Wisconsin. Jason, welcome back, man.
Hey, what's up, guys? Good to be back. Seems like it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a little while. What was our last year? 2013?
I believe it was.
Yeah, which now feels like a million years ago. Of course, we're still living in COVID time, so everything is stretched out.
All right, yeah, we would normally have Quentin with us tonight, but something of pressing importance happened recently, so Quentin will not be with us, but I think he's with us in spirit. So yeah, 1987 is the year we're talking about tonight. We'll get to the music and films.
I do have good news, and that is today I scheduled the movers to help Jamie, my girlfriend, move in with me next month. So she will be moving in officially right around Friday, May 21st.
There is no going back now, Al. I'll tell you. Like me and Jason have been riding that train before. So, yeah. Good luck to you, Al. That's all I can say, man.
Thank you.
All right, so 1987, it's the year, guys. Second to last year, Reagan was president. The 80s, New Wave was still there, but kind of seems like it was the end or so of the New Wave era. So, yeah, lots of crazy music. Hair rock still going a little bit there, probably in the last throes of it. And yeah, just a weird decade, the 80s, we'll say that. So curious to see where we end up here, guys, on some of this stuff. So we usually start out with albums, and we'll get there in a minute. Throw it around the room, Jason. As far as music goes overall for 1987, I'll reiterate the rules. Albums, the album has to be released in 87. And when we get to singles, as long as it charted in 87, it doesn't matter the year of the album release. So that's how the music gets attacked in this show. So looking at 1987 in music, Jason, what'd you think?
In 87, I'm 13 years old. I would say a lot of my music comes from radio at this point, and maybe a few cassettes that I bought here and there. Not even into CDs yet at this point. Yeah, 87, definitely a cool year for music, but I say it's a cooler year for music looking back.
All right, interesting, yeah. So, yeah, I was 12, so just a year younger. And I agree, although I was definitely starting to get build up cassettes and stuff at this point. So, yeah, that would have been about 6th, 5th grade for me.
How could you not build up your cassette collection at this point?
I was just starting.
House,
yeah, right.
BMG.
Yeah, right. No doubt. So, yeah, I explicitly remember the first 2 cassettes I ever bought. So, and we're old enough, Jason. I don't know what you had for a record collection, but, we had tons of records around. LPs, vinyl. Yeah.
Same.
So tapes were just kind of getting going for me, as I must have got a Walkman right about this time, probably my first.
Yes.
So in 6th grade, which was 1987, you, as a member of the safety patrol around the school, we got to go to Washington, D.C. for a week in 6th grade. So I made that trip this year. I bought 2 cassettes to accompany me on the 2-day bus ride, basically. And that was Licensed to Ill, and Slippery When Wet were my first
Nice.
two cassettes. Yeah.
Great
So,
purchases.
Yeah, there
Oh,
you
yeah.
go. Alan, how old? Probably just a little nipper here, Al. And
Yeah.
this was a look back year for you, obviously. So what'd you think for music?
Yeah. I think I turned 5 that year, so I don't even think I even knew what music was yet. In terms of music, 87 was definitely interesting because, like you mentioned, there was the hair bands, but there was also like just a little bit of the new wave still going. I think Depeche Mode and New Order and them were still around, and of course, a couple bands were, you know, synthesizing a lot, and yeah, it's interesting because Michael Jackson and Madonna and Prince were the royal court, if you will, of that era, and they, of course, Prince had his double LP, Sign of the Times, which came out that year, and it was interesting. Michael Jackson was acting like a weirdo. I mean, he had a cryogenic chamber, I believe, in 1987, like he was going to live forever or something. The music is fun. I will just say that. But I do think the movies were better.
All right, that is fair. So there you go. The Royal Court Al all had albums this year. Madonna, Prince, and Michael Jackson all had multiple hits this year. We'll see if any of that stuff leaks into our lists. So, all right, Al, what you got for albums, honorable mentions, and your top 5 of 1987?
Sure. Well, I went ahead and came up with 6 honorable mentions, and I put them in alphabetical order, of course. So I came up with Aerosmith Permanent Vacation, which, of course, was kind of their comeback after losing Joe Perry for a few years. And just that band was just full of cocaine and heroin and not doing well. And then Permanent Vacation came out and they were back. Anthrax Among the Living, which I think was maybe the best album they ever put out. And it's just thrash metal in that early era, just really, really good. George Strait, Oceanfront Property, which is the one of the twangiest albums I think you'll ever hear. Kiss, Crazy Nights. They had taken the face paint off, but they were still rocking it pretty damn well. And I noticed the other day when I was re-listening to it that Paul Stanley is in really melodic form for that album. LL Cool J, Bigger and Deafer, which, I mean, back in the late 80s, LL Cool J might have been the baddest dude on the block. And Rush, Hold Your Fire, which I'd like to think of it as the end of their first era, which is from their debut in 74 to 87 with Hold Your Fire. And that, of course, when I was alluding to synthesizer bands, Rush was kind of right at the forefront of that. This one caught me a little off guard, but when I was listening to the songs, I was like, oh, I love that song. Oh, I love that one. Oh, I got to have this album in my top 5. At number 5, I have George Michael, Faith. He wasn't one of the royal court like I was joking about, but George Michael was an enormous star in 1987. And coming off Wham, he was basically one of those guys that could do anything and sell 1 million records. And Faith was, I mean, he was declaring himself George frickin' Michael.
I definitely got Faith through the Columbia House plan, Jason, as you brought it up, because I definitely had it. I think I got it a little bit later on in the year, but man, I listened to Faith a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you listen, it's like, oh, I know that song. Oh, I know that song. It was almost like a greatest hits. At number 4, I have Motley Crue, Girls, Girls, Girls. Those guys are just fun. Beer drinking, strip club. That's all you need. At number 3, U2, The Joshua Tree, which I think, is, at least in terms of their 80s era, was far and away their most iconic album. And it was the one that cemented them as one of the all-time greats, but it also came at a time when they were kind of wearing themselves out, and then they really took like a long break afterwards. But that album is fantastic. At number 2, I have Def Leppard Hysteria, another album that took a while to come out with, but they said you can't rush perfection, and I guess I would agree with that. That was a Robert Mutt Lang album, and just slick as hell. The guitars sound fantastic. Of course, they had Pour Some Sugar on Me, another strip club kind of album, but just really, really good. But number one, of course, it's number one. It's the most iconic album of the whole year. I'm basic, but I don't give a fuck. It's Guns N' Roses, of course it is. Appetite for Destruction. I mean, Guns N' Roses is like a band that I don't think I've ever heard before. And Slash with that top hat, I mean, the way he and was it Izzy Stradlin playing that guitar?
Yes, sir.
Ooh. And Axl Rose just, I mean, he was, you know, like the way that he would thrash his voice. Oh man, and those songs are just incredible. It's one of the greatest rock albums I think has ever been produced.
Yep. Boy, to see what was to come for those guys, interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right, Jay, your honorable mentions, man.
So, my honorable mentions, I only did 5 of them. And, Al, it's going to be interesting on how a few of ours cross over here, for
yeah?
sure. Just a few, though.
Okay, cool.
So at number 10, I got REM's Document. At this time, I was kind of getting into indie music a little bit, and I do remember like getting that album, or I'm sorry, tape at that time, and I think that was through BMG, and I love that album. Just really, really good. Number 9 is one that is definitely a throwback for me. Like I went back to 87 to find this, and that's Big Black, Songs About Fucking. Steve Albini's band, really, really punk and really, really like in your face, but good. Number 8, and this is where, Al, we're going to relate a little bit here. You said Anthrax Among the Living. I do love that album. Great album. Probably Anthrax's best album. But I went with Anthrax I'm the Man EP.
I'm the Man.
Oh,
I
okay.
love that. I could not get enough of that.
Yeah, that's good.
And then they
man.
have a badass Black Sabbath cover on there of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. That
Yep.
was just killer.
Oh, hell yeah.
This one's dedicated to Arnold Ziffel.
Oh, man. Should be in detention. I'm so bad. Number 7, I got Sonic Youth Sister. This is Sonic Youth starting to like kind of change for the better. We're heading towards Daydream Nation, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. But Sonic Youth Sister is such a good album. At number 6, I have The Cure, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. I'm not actually a huge Cure fan, but when I first heard this album, I was blown away by it. Number 5, going to go in my top 5 right now. Number 5, I got The Smiths, Strange Ways, Here We Come. Not a huge Morrissey fan either. In fact, I could take him or leave him for the most part. But for some reason, that album at that time in my life, I was listening to that and I loved it. Number 4, I have Dinosaur Jr., You're Living All Over Me.
Nice.
Yeah, that album is brilliant, and even more so laid the work for what's to come after that. Number 3, the Jesus and Mary Chains, Darklands. This album is my favorite Jesus and Mary Chains album. I mean, I don't know how you would describe them, Eric. Would you say like a bluesy goth punk type thing?
Yeah, that works.
uh, Al, this is our other crossover. Of course, number 2, I have Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Definitely hair metal I could get behind. Loved it at that time. I still love listening to that album this day. And number 1, Spaceman 3, The Perfect Prescription. Eric, if you have not listened to
I
this
have
album,
no idea what you're talking about.
Me neither.
Spaceman 3, Perfect Prescription.
Wow.
Eric, do you like Spiritualized at all?
Not familiar.
Okay. Listen to them as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, curious for sure. Check that out. And I typically take something off one of your lists and give it a listen, so I will do that. Spaceman 3. That's okay. Yeah, news to me. So, man, lots of you guys mentioned some really good ones. Dinosaur Jr. just missed my list. A couple others, but I'm the Man was like the first one I wrote down. I pretty sure I got real close to wearing that tape out. Other honorable mentions, yep. Appetite for Destruction makes my honorable mentions. Definitely hit it pretty hard at the time. Introduce Yourself, the first Faith No More album, pre-Mike Patton, Chuck Mosley days, makes my honorable mentions. And I don't know how popular this was, if it was at all, but I think it's a criminally underrated album / project. So Wendy and Lisa, do you know what that is, Jason?
Yeah, that's Prince's
Yes.
Revolution. Yes.
So the Revolution gals went on to make some of their own material, and this is Wendy and Lisa here from their first album together. That's very good. So if you have not heard
Nice
it,
choice.
Check it out.
Yes.
All right, so my top 5. Always been an NXS fan. So Kick came out in 1987. Pretty much their hit machine. I loved it. I listened to it a ton. Still holds up for me to this day. So number 5 is NXS Kick. Michael Jackson's Bad, guys, coming in at number 4. Also loved that one quite a bit. Let's see. Pleased to Meet Me by the Minnesota band, or Minneapolis band, The Replacements, coming in at number 3. Number 2, hey, let's stay in Minneapolis, shall we? Sign o' the Times, guys. Huge Prince fan, always have, always will be. This may be one of my favorite albums of his as well. So Sign of the Times. And number 1, I like these guys a lot more pretty much up to this album and the next one, and after that I've really kind of fallen off on these guys. But their probable masterpiece album number 1 is The Joshua Tree, for me, by U2. So yeah, I stuck pretty close to the hits here on the albums, and that's pretty rare for me. So what a year for albums. How about singles, Al? What you got for some honorable mentions here?
Yeah, so this I veered left a little bit from my albums. Some overlap, but I have 5 honorable mentions, and again in alphabetical order. So I went with Fleetwood Mac, Everywhere, which is just, I guess the word would be lovely. Kind of a fun sing-along type of song. George Strait, All My Exes Live in Texas. And of course, that's why he hangs his hat in Tennessee.
See, all my exes drive a Lexus. So.
Did they get your alimony?
I didn't marry any of them.
Yeah.
The joke's on them with
Right.
their Lexuses.
Yeah. Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. Yeah, it's an interesting. That feels like a message song, but to me, it's just a good pop song. Randy Travis, Forever and Ever Amen, which, if you ever heard Randy Travis, he has a very distinct, unique voice. But, he's got that perfect twang to it as well. And then, of course, I had to have it somewhere on my list, and I'm a little surprised it didn't make my top five, but that is U2's With or Without You. And it's literally just, it didn't make the top five only because of what did. So, but yeah, great song.
Well, all right, Alan, your top five.
Sure. So at number five, I have Hysteria from Def Leppard. The
Ooh,
way
out of all the Def Leppard songs off that album, Hysteria is the one you go with.
Yeah,
Huh?
it's
All right.
grown on me so much. And, I find that if I turn on classic rock stations, I seem to be hearing it more these days than even the other ones, like Animal and Women, and of course, Pour Some Sugar on Me. And I don't know what that means, but it's just very catchy.
I mean, Sugar and Love Bites, I would think, are considered the huge hits, but
hmm
are you getting it, or whatever the hell that song's called was up there? Hysteria was probably the last one that hit on that album, and Animal seems to be the one that they play the most now. Oddly enough, it's weird.
Yeah.
That yeah, I would never probably listen to that album anymore, but man, I listened to that a lot.
Oh yeah. Did you wear the tape out?
Probably.
Nice. At number four, I have Whitesnake. Here we go again, 87. And the reason why the 87 is included is because technically, I didn't really know this, but that is a remake of their own song from 1982. And the one from 1982 is almost unlistenable. It's absolute trash. But when they remade it in 87, it is so much better. And of course, now I hear that song and I think of like Will Ferrell drinking beer and working on his car. And I was that Old School?
Yes, the dragon.
Yeah, I love that scene. And he just turns it up even louder. At number three, I have Los Lobos with La Bamba. That was the year that they released the Richie Valens biopic movie La Bamba, and Los Lobos did a really, really good version, and I honestly think it's better.
Oh yeah,
And,
oh yeah.
yeah,
Nothing against Richie
Yes,
Valens, but it's the Los Lobos is
yeah.
great,
just
great
better
version.
production.
Yeah.
And when I think of La Bamba, I mean that was my childhood because my mom enrolled me in the Spanish language immersion from kindergarten through I was in Spanish up through seventh grade, so I heard La Bamba maybe a million times, but never got sick of it. So sign of a good song. Number two, Guns N' Roses, "Sweet Child of Mine." Of course, and I love that Slash came up with that riff. And, he was messing around with that riff the same way that Keith Richards dreamt the riff for I Can't Get No Satisfaction. And, both of them were just supposed to be throwaway riffs, but instead they ended up being two of the most iconic guitar riffs that have ever been recorded.
Oddly enough, it is very difficult to play that.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Yeah, it is
yes,
very
it is.
difficult to play that, and Slash himself says he hates playing that live because it is a pain in the ass to play. So,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. No kidding. And number one, not a hit song. You will not find it on any charts as far as I know, but ironically, it does have a music video, and that is Rush. Time Stands Still. The you know the first thing that comes to mind is it's that song is a breath of fresh air. Like I hear that and it just invigorates me. And Neil Peart, that drumming is incredible, and even Geddy Lee's voice in the late 80s. I mean, like Paul Stanley, I mean his voice honestly seemed to get better over time. And maybe it was just the production value. I don't know, but that song is just incredible.
On the female vocal there. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, exactly.
that's Amy Mann, who
Really?
big in the 80s, and she's a very big part of PTA's Magnolia soundtrack as well. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's an amazing soundtrack.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
All right, on to your honorables, Jason.
Actually, yeah, I just went with the top 5, no honorables.
Perfect.
So coming in at number 5, this is funny because no hip hop made my music album list, but coming in at number 5, I have Fat Boy's Crushin'. Definitely hip hop that sounded like the Beastie Boys, and I at this time in my life I could not get enough Beastie Boys. Still listening to License to Ill in '87.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I'll just tease one little thing. That is not the last time we're going to mention the Fat Boys this evening.
Nice.
So stay tuned.
Coming in at number 4, we probably all have a GNR song on our list, but mine is Mr. Brownstone. Just a rockin' tune that gets me like energized every time. Good party tune. Number 3, Eric B. and Rakim, Paid in Full. Hip hop for me at this time, I'm still more about like the Beastie Boys, or not until 90s hip hop do I really like get involved. But Eric B. and Rakim of the old school, I guess, I really dug that track. Coming in number 2, U2's With or Without You. In my opinion, just a perfect song. Love hearing that song every time it comes on the radio. And then coming in at number 1, Just Like Heaven, and either the Cure's version or Dinosaur Jr.'s version. I could take either or.
So yeah, I'll rattle off a bunch of honorable mentions here. I was telling the guys earlier today, ton of stuff available here for me. I like to take singles off the charts typically, so I try to stay off my top 5 albums. One of them did cross over this time, but I had about 50 songs I started with and whittled it down. So got a few honorable mentions I'm going to mention. For me, that perfect U2 song is Where the Streets Have No Name. So that's my favorite off that album. That's coming in as an honorable mention. Prince's You Got the Look, getting in there. Genesis Land of Confusion, which was one of the great videos of 1987, no doubt. 1986's Fleetwood Mac album, Tango in the Night. A couple of cuts off there. Made it in 87. Little Lies, and I'm not going to talk about that one here for a second, so I'll get back to that. Lips Like Sugar from the first Echo and the Bunnyman album, making it in there. Love Removal Machine by The Cult, and We Close Our Eyes by Oingo Boingo, all just missing the list. So number 5 for me, this song is just one of the ones I always think of when I think the 80s. I've listened to it thousands of times. I don't know, I really like this tune. My number 5, Heart and Soul by T-Paw. Number 4, there's that Fleetwood Mac song I almost screwed up. Everywhere, Al. A little bit of crossover for us there.
Yay!
Yeah, love that Christy McVie song. Number 3, from my old friends at XTC, Dear God. Probably their most iconic video as well. So that's number 3. Yeah. And let's just say Andy Partridge doesn't have a lot of good things to say about God in that song. Number 2, my crossover with best albums, Alex Chilton from The Replacements, my number 2. And number 1, a little new wave, managing to sneak its way in here, True Faith by New Order. Great club banger, as they say. And no, Jason, I wasn't 12 years old hanging out in the clubs like you might have asked somebody on a previous podcast. I almost
Oh,
jumped in.
God, that was so
Yeah, I
funny.
almost jumped in there, Al, earlier to steal Jason's gig and asked if you were drinking beer and going to strip clubs listening to Motley Crue at 5 years old in 1987. But
Oh, could you imagine? I'd
yeah,
be worse than Vince Neil.
yeah, I don't know. All right, guys, let's move on to films. Al, how did the year look for you in films? We'll just throw it around for the overall year here, and then I'll give us the top 5 money winners before we start up with our lists, Al. But your overall thoughts on film in 87.
Basically, this is what I always say for the 80s in movies, and that is that the dramas were just lacking, but the all the rest, like the genre movies, the franchise movies, those were the ones that have stuck around. And I don't mean just like the year we're talking. I mean, I feel like that way for the entire decade. Because if you look at a lot of the popular dramas, they just, I don't know, there's something about them that just don't seem to hold up that well anymore. Um, so a lot of the movies that I picked really don't fit the drama category. But 87 was such a deep year, and I had to stop at some point. I'm like, no, 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 I've got enough. Like when we talked about 2007, and yeah, but I don't know why, but for some reason, 87 just really came together.
I would say for 87, definitely my top 5 was probably the easiest top 5 I've ever had to pick. A lot of those movies are in my favorite movies of all times. But yeah, my top 5 was pretty easy to pick. Overall that year, a lot of great movies to choose from. This is definitely going to be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't see much for hard hitting, deep films that I liked, but this is definitely a fun year for some comedies and some just lighter fare. So I wasn't blown away by 87 looking back on it, but there's definitely some fun films here. All right, so let's put the year in film 1987 in perspective. So I got the top 10 money winners here in front of me. Al, take one guess in 87 what the number one film brought home for money.
Ooh.
Overall.
Are we talking overall? Are we talking worldwide or?
Actually, I think I have the worldwide numbers here.
Worldwide, okay. Ooh. I'm going to say 200 million.
Not
84 million.
What?
84 million.
Okay. Yeah, Al, you were pretty close. It's 167 million was the number one film. Now we have 4 or 5 films a year that break $1 billion worldwide. In 1987, 167 million was number one, and that was, yes, guys, 3 Men and a Baby coming in at number 1. Number 2, Fatal Attraction. Number 3, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Number 4, Good Morning Vietnam. Number 5, Moonstruck. Number 6, The Untouchables. Number 7, The Secret of My Success. Number 8, Stakeout. Number 9, Lethal Weapon. And number 10, The Witches of Eastwick. So $60 million, the number 10
By
film.
the way, is it just bizarre, that Leonard Nimoy directed the most popular movie of that year?
3 Men and a Baby was directed by Leonard Nimoy? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
No way.
Crazy.
So bizarre.
Crazy. All right, Al. Honorable mentions 1987 films.
I have a list of 7 honorable mentions because that's just how much I love this year. It's so funny because these could easily be in my top 5. I have Fatal Attraction, which Michael Douglas at his best, and Glenn Close for that matter, who may or may not be winning an Oscar in a week. I guess we'll find out. Full Metal Jacket, which of course Stanley Kubrick, just incredible. It's too bad though that it got overshadowed the year earlier by Platoon. Lethal Weapon, which is just really a interesting, fun movie. Mel Gibson wanting to kill himself, and now I think a lot of people will be like, "Why didn't you just pull the trigger, dude?" The Lost Boys. How many times can you hear the name Michael being mentioned? The Princess Bride. Andre the Giant just, I mean, give that guy an award just for being funny. The Untouchables. Sean Connery, I think, won the Oscar for that. And speaking of Michael Douglas, Wall Street, which to me I think is maybe the most iconic movie that year when you just think about the era and what New York and money and the 80s was all about. It's Wall Street.
All right, man. Your top 5.
Sure. So at number 5, the very fun, the very quotable Predator. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse Ventura, "You're one ugly motherfucker." I mean, that's one of the greatest lines ever. And of course, I don't got time to bleed.
I was just going to say that out. Yeah. Jesse.
Oh, yeah. At number 4, it surprises me a little bit, but I've now seen it a few times, and honestly, I really do enjoy it. And it's definitely a guilty pleasure, and that is Dirty Dancing. I had the time of my life, and I gotta admit it.
Oh, boy.
At number 3, Spaceballs, which is probably pound for pound the best spoof ever made. Oh my god! And to take Star Wars 10 years later and make it a spoof like that's gold. At number 2, Raising Arizona, which, I mean, holy shit, is that a funny movie. Nicolas Cage just acting crazy, and nobody even really knew how crazy he was going to bug out. But, yeah, Raising Arizona is a classic. And then number 1 is a movie that nobody talks about, and I would love for you guys to go watch it, and then on the next episode, I could get your quick thoughts. But number 1 for me is Barfly, the Mickey Rourke movie.
Yep.
It's basically just him drinking his ass off based on Charles Bukowski, getting into fights. Wanda, he's a poet, and it's just really, really good. It's kind of a satire, but it's just too bad that, like, it's basically just persona non grata right now. I mean, you basically cannot find that movie, but I know, Eric, you were able to find it and put it up on Plex, which I'm very grateful for. So, but yeah, my God, Barfly is so good.
All right, Jay. I suppose you got a top 10 over there.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, starting with the honorable mentions, number 10, I got Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. My favorite Thanksgiving movie of all time.
I can't believe that didn't get some kind of mention from Al. Honestly, I was a little,
I've never
surprised.
Officially seen it.
No kidding.
Oh my!
Wow.
Yeah, I think I started to watch it, and then I must have gotten either drunk or too tired to finish it.
Well,
yeah, that goes up on
two comedians at the height of their career, man.
That goes up every year on the Plex holiday section. So, Al, you got to check that out next Thanksgiving, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So coming in at number 9, I got a Catherine Bigelow movie, Near Dark. It's a vampire movie. Eric, have you seen that, or do you remember that movie?
No, I do not.
Yeah, I actually caught that. I think it was on the Criterion channel for a little while.
Oh, nice.
That is a good movie. I forgot. And that's basically her solo debut.
Yes.
Holy shit. I mean, Texas in the middle of nowhere and like just a bunch of asshole vampires in bars?
Yeah. some great performances. Eric, yeah, definitely a must see, man. So coming in at number 8, I'm gonna go with RoboCop, but it's got to be the director's cut, like the unrated version for sure. Number 7, Al, you said it, and I gotta agree. Spaceballs,
Oh yeah.
an amazing movie. And then coming in at number 6, I have The Evil Dead 2. Definitely funnier than the first one.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
yeah.
First one,
Love.
yeah. So yeah, the first one obviously not supposed to be funny.
Right.
And the second one, they realized it actually probably was kind of funny, so they played it up. But yeah, Evil Dead 1 and 2, I love those two movies, man.
Uh, yeah, both are amazing. So yeah, going into my top 5. Coming in at number 5, I got Good Morning Vietnam. Love Robin Williams' performance in that. I feel like he is really acting instead of just spitballing all the time, or just like, but he also gets to do that because of the radio jock. So it's kind of the best of both worlds in his acting there. And Barry Levinson is a director that I think is really good and kind of underrated. But yeah, Good Morning Vietnam. Love that movie. Coming in at number 4, Al, you said it. Love this movie, Princess Bride. I just need to watch it every once in a while. Just great movie. So coming in number 3, and this would be 3 on up. This gets into like more of me, like really getting into like directors, and trying to like watch everything that they've ever done. Number 3, I have Full Metal Jacket, Stanley Kubrick. I can't get enough of watching that guy's stuff. I wish he had more to go through for sure. Number 2, early Oliver Stone. Love the movie Wall Street. The iconic speech in there, of course. Yeah, just like that is a well done movie. And coming in at number 1, my favorite movie, not only of this year, but of all time. I've said it many times.
Oh boy,
Raising Arizona.
that's your number 1 film of all time, huh? Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Nice.
Love that movie.
Hell yeah. Mister, you got a panty on your head.
Yeah, I could quote that movie front to back. I've seen it so many times. It still is great to watch even after the 100th time. Yeah, I love that movie.
By the way, you know what's my favorite still frame? Like if you just pause, shot in the whole movie is John Goodman when they escape from the hole in the mud in the rain, and he's pulling his friend out by the ankle.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God.
He's screaming at the top of his lungs.
All right, some honorable mentions for me. Yeah, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. They were really pumping out the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So Running Man is the one that makes my honorable mentions. You guys both mentioned it, I think, and this is my wife's favorite movie of all time. So she'd probably be mad that it's not going to make my actual top 5, but Princess Bride for me. Full Metal Jacket, tale of two movies for me on that one. I love the first half, like as much as anything I've ever seen, and the second half just kind of bores me quite a bit. So Full Metal Jacket makes my honorable mentions. The Untouchables as well. The fourth installment of the Police Academy series, Citizens on Patrol, the last Steve Guttenberg version of Police Academy. Evil Dead 2, we just talked about that, making my list. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, also.
Oh, wow.
I remember having a lot of fun with that in the theater in 1987.
Well, probably be making Christian and Ian happy.
Okay, don't spoil it. I haven't got to that one yet, Al. So, All right, my top 5 films of 1987. Spaceballs, number 5. Number 4, I teased it. Disorderlies, guys, the Fat Boys movie. Oh man, hilarious film at number 4. Number 3, there was probably a decade or so, I would say, where I would have told people this was my favorite film of all time. So from, I don't know, roughly 87 to mid 90s, this was my favorite film, The Lost Boys. Raising Arizona hits number 2 for me. And I guess this is a film I should run down and give you guys access to, because Robert brought it up as an idea for a Flicksation podcast episode at least 2 or 3 years ago. So it's been a while now that since we watched it, but man, is it good. It actually won the foreign language Oscar that year. A film out of Denmark called Babette's Feast. Is my number 1 film of 1987.
Okay.
So good. Any foodie, this is just an amazing film. So, we talked about it in full on the show. I don't know when that was again, but just Google it and check it out, guys, for sure.
I need to see that movie.
For a second there, I don't know why, but I think when you'd mentioned foreign language or something, I thought you were going to say au revoir les enfants. I've never seen it.
Yeah, me neither. So
the only thing I know about that is that it's the reason why the movie Reservoir Dogs is named. Because Quentin was working at the video store and somebody goes, "Hey, do you have any good foreign language movies?" And he says, "Yeah. Au revoir les enfants." And he goes, "What did you say? Reservoir Dogs?"
Oh, wow. Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and it's stuck.
All right, guys. So that's 1987. Another fun Friday fix for sure. So I don't have any more listener suggestions. This was another one floated by a listener. So 1987. We don't know what the next year is going to be. So if you have any suggestions, please hit us up on Twitter at Flicksation. Hit us up on the Facebook page. Call or text the voicemail line 608-535-9302, or email the show flicksationpodcast@gmail.com. Give us a year, and hey, if you're going to give us a year, please feel free to tell us what you liked from that year so we can incorporate whoever makes the suggestion into the show. So that would be fun and appreciated. Thanks once again, everybody. My name Eric. You can find me on Twitter at Hazer, HAZER75. Alan, always glad to have you on the show, man. Glad the house is still standing. Glad the things are going your way here. Moving in your new housemate, we'll say.
Yeah, thank you.
Because in 1987, that kind of thing was frowned upon, Al. You know. Shacking up. They're shacking up. Oh my God.
Right. Yeah. No, this was fun. This was a good distraction. Yeah, I just really hope that things calm down. And the other thing is so are we gonna have a Oscar pool party?
I think that probably would have had to have been today.
Yeah, you're right.
So I thought about that about a week ago, and I was like, I don't think anybody's really interested right in that this year anyway. So
right. Well, do you want me to give you a quick some predictions? Because I can just do director and picture and stuff like that real quick.
Actually, this should come out Friday, so yeah, it should get out in front of the Oscars. So yeah, give us a quick rundown.
Sure. So I think best actor, I'm still going with Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey. Actress, I think it's going to be everybody has Carey Mulligan. I'm gonna say it's Viola Davis. Also Ma Rainey. Supporting actor, I think it's going to be Daniel Kaluuya, Judas and the Black Messiah. And supporting actress, I have Yoo Jun Young or whatever her name is from Minari. And then for director, I think it's going to be Chloe Zhao, and I think for best picture, it's going to be Nomadland.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Hopefully it's before the show, but if you catch it afterwards, you're probably laughing hysterically at Al's terrible picks as we go. All right, guys. Yeah, thanks. Jason, always a pleasure. We got to drag that Quentin guy out of the video game chair next time and buckle back down here.
He said he'll be on next time for sure.
Okay.
And is excited to listen to this episode. So he isn't around at that point. This would all be going back for him.
Yeah, that's why I was really curious what he had to offer us here. But
me too.
I don't think we've done a year where I completely didn't exist, Al. I mean, we did. I think my birth year.
Yeah,
75. That might have been the earliest we've done on this.
I think it has been, yeah.
And that was kind of difficult for me, even so. Yeah, we got a day. Might have to hit the 60s or something here one of these days. So
it'd be interesting to do something weird like that. Yeah,
we'll see what happens. Thanks, everybody. Jason and Alan, Alan the Listman Robinson. Sorry, I'm drunk as fuck, Al. Sorry, drunk as
nice.
fuck. We'll catch you on the flick side, everybody.